Hi guys, we're Autocar for Dummies. I'm Gabi.
I'm Maya.
And I'm Katrina.
And this semester we were tasked with creating an easy-to-read handbook for incoming members and anyone who wants to know more about Autocar. And you can see the link to our GitHub. So Autocar for Dummies is a going global subteam that will essentially develop an AC for Dummies information package that gives a broad overview to Autocar technology, whether this be for new members, potential developers, or anyone in general who's just interested in Autocar technology. So currently tons of different information exists, but is spread all across different places on the Autocar GitHub, as well as Autocar Reaches webpage and a few other places, including the Autocar textbook. So this semester we worked to gather this information and to organize it into a succinct handbook in a way that is easy to understand yet valuable knowledge. So our goals for this semester included designing and formatting a table detailing autoclave technologies and plants. Our table will be placed where interested parties can find a specific numbers about turbidity, dissolved organics, the amount of water treated, the number of people served, and as well as other parameters so that they can make an informed and easily determine when to use what technology. Another goal was to create an easy to understand yet technically accurate handbook, which can be used as a resource for incoming members, current members, or again, anyone who is interested in autoclave technology. In the future, we also plan to have the handbook include an appendix with sample designs for autoclave technology so that they are easily accessible to anyone who is looking for them.
So we were tasked by Fletcher this semester to make a table that compiled all Agua Clara unit processes from the different plants and describe when they would be suitable to use based on the quality of the water that needs to be treated. The tables will potentially be used by organizations interested in working with Agua Clara, incoming members, or anyone who wants to learn more about AC, as it gives them a very brief outlook on the technologies Agua Clara has to offer and what they're used for. So if you look at the figure on the left, you'll see that the first table we started working on describes each unit process, the parameters needed, and any additional important notes we think the person looking at the table should know about that unit process. So we chose turbidity and dissolved organics as our parameters since each unit process can only properly operate if water quality matches the range of numbers on the table. So for the flocculation sedimentation process, the turbidity can be up to 1,000 NTU and 2 mgs per liter of dissolved organics. And the reason for that is because this is the process that should clarify the water and decrease its turbidity by a large amount, potentially down to 1 to 2 NTU. As for the STARS filtration unit process, we found that turbidity needs to be lower than 3 NTU, and the process will then lower it to below 0.3 NTU and the dissolved organics less than 2 mg per liter. Additional notes added to the table are that the filter runtime is dependent on grain size, the height of the active zone, and the coagulant dosage. All of these are important aspects of the unit process to take into consideration when looking into potentially using Agua Clara technology. And finally, for chlorination, we determined that the water has to have a turbidity that is less than the national turbidity standard, which typically it would be around 1 NTU. However, in some countries that value may be higher or lower. And since the chlorination process does not lower turbidity, the turbidity of the water exiting the plant must equal that entering the chlorination stage. And dissolved organics may possibly be less than 2 mgs per liter. These values need to be low because the higher their concentration, the higher the higher the chlorine dosage needed, and this leads to a high concentration of harmful disinfection byproducts. All the values for the dissolved organics are tentative estimates for now, as there is no research done to prove at what level dissolved organics need to be for the processes to work properly. In the future, we hope that subteams could conduct research to determine what those dissolved organic values are. Our second table, which you can see is the figure on the right, lists the Agua Clara plants available, what size they are, how many people they can supply clean water to, and the technology included in the plants. The regular sized Agua Clara plants are 0.6 to 120 liters per second and can serve anywhere from 300 to 50,000 people. They include an entrance tank, a flocculator, a sedimentation tank, a STARS filter, and the chlorination unit process. The PF200 is a 0.67 liters per second plant that serves 200 people and includes everything a full-scale plant has. The only difference being the filtration process, where an E-STARS filter is used instead of a STARS filter. As for the hydrodoser, it's an Algoclara technology that doses the water with chlorine for disinfection and can only be used in plants of sizes 1 to 25 liters per second, which typically serve 200 to 500 people. It can only effectively operate when dissolved organics are less than 2 mg per liter. And finally, there's a plant that only filters and disinfects. Its size ranges from 0.7 to 8 liters per second and can serve 200 to 500 people. And it has an E-STARS filter and a hydrodoser. We formatted the tables in Figma, and if you want to see the tables in detail, you can click the link in our appendix slides.
Another big task we were tackling this semester was putting together a handbook. At the start of the semester, when we were unsure of what our main goals were as a new sub-team, we developed the idea of creating a handbook of everything Algoclara related. The idea is that our handbook would use simpler language than say a textbook to explain our technology so that an outsider would be able to understand what Algoclara is all about. The main audience we had in mind were new incoming members, but it could also be used for any party interested in our technology, but don't know much about the technicalities of water treatment processes. Our handbook includes everything Algoclara related, ranging from the history of Algoclara to what current sub-teams are working on. As you can see in the figure on the left, we're breaking our handbook into 6 main categories. What is Algoclara? Partner organizations, Algoclara plants, technologies inside large-scale drinking water plants, technology inside small-scale drinking water plants, and continuing research on the Algoclara project team. These chapters are then broken down into even more specific sections. For example, what is Algoclara talks about our goals as a team and of course Monroe. The next chapter includes our partner organizations like Algoclara Reach, APP, and Grand Bacas. The Algoclara plants chapter overviews things like where our plants are located and how many people benefit from them. Then we move into explaining our large-scale drinking water treatment plant and the related technologies. And similarly, we have a chapter about our small drinking water plants, like the hydrodoser and the filter disinfection system. And last but not least, we have a section with all our current sub-teams in active research. So this is a quick scroll through of our handbook currently. You can see the general format of our handbook. And if you want to see our handbook in detail, you can click the link to it in our appendix slide.
So we have a couple of tasks so far that we hope to get done in the future, the first being for the table. And since literature doesn't have any information on what the maximum dissolved organics concentration needs to be for each of the Algoclara unit processes to work properly, we were hoping that some sub-teams could pick up this research in the upcoming semesters and find that out so we could have a completed table that could be used by Algoclara Reach.
And our next future task is for the handbook. So our handbook is nearly complete. We just have a few sub-teams left to write about. We see this as a relatively small task, and so the Algoclara for Dummies will no longer be a sub-team next semester. We think that completing and editing the handbook will be a smaller subtask of perhaps a going global sub-team next semester. Our hope is that in the future, this document can be briefly updated as sub-teams continue their research. Again, we're thinking this could be a small task of a different sub-team to update the document. We also hope that this will become a document that all new incoming members will find useful as we welcome them to our team.
If anyone has any questions or recommendations, please feel free to reach out to Maya, Katrina, or myself at any of the emails you see on the screen. And if anyone is more interested in seeing our documents or resources we use this semester more in detail, please reference this appendix slide and follow the links to them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.